This is NBC Nightly News. With John Chancellor, who is on vacation, David Brinkley in New York, and tonight's special segment, Nicaragua, the Children of War.
Good evening. News strains, friction, and irritations between the United States and Israel, with some Israelis suspecting the U.S., in need of oil, is cozying up to the Arab states, and fearful the U.S. is ready to deal with the Palestinians. Today, both the President and the Secretary of State denied all of that and called in the Israeli ambassador to tell him not to worry. Here are two reports.
The President invited Israeli Ambassador Ephraim Evron for lunch at the White House to assure him that American policy toward Israel has not changed. Many Israelis believe the need for oil is causing the United States to favor the Arabs. After today's luncheon, Secretary of State Vance insisted that's not so, but he admitted his annoyance over some recent developments.
I don't want to hash over things that have happened in the past. I have from time to time been irritated about certain things, but those are in the past, and we ought to leave them in the past.
Ambassador Evron told reporters they could reach their own conclusions about continuing strains between the two governments.
We shall report to the government. The government will assess its position in view of what I had to tell them and in view of what will follow.
The Israelis are worried that the United States is involved in efforts at the United Nations to draw up a resolution recognizing Israel's right to exist, but that would also open the door to an independent Palestinian state. Secretary of State Vance has said the United States would veto a resolution spelling out the Palestinian right to an independent homeland. But he has not ruled out accepting language that would include some mention of Palestinian rights. One White House aide said today that with these strains, and with the situation in Israel resulting from Prime Minister Begin's illness, there is even fear here that Israel might pull out of the peace talks. Judy Woodruff, NBC News, the White House.
From the very outset of their term in office, Carter administration officials believed that peace in the Middle East required a comprehensive approach, which meant tackling the difficult Palestinian question as well as the issues of defined borders and the nature of peace. When Secretary of State Vance was in Saudi Arabia 2 years ago, he was told that the Palestine Liberation Organization might be considering formal recognition of Israel's right to exist, paving the way for PLO participation at a Geneva peace conference. President Carter then spelled out the conditions under which the United States might deal directly with the PLO.
Our position has been that until the Palestinians and their leaders recognized Israel's right to exist, that we would not have conversations with them ourselves.
But after the PLO rejected that course of action, Egyptian President Sadat made his historic journey to Jerusalem, a gesture which led to the Camp David summit and eventually an Egyptian-Israeli peace treaty and the start of negotiations for Palestinian self-rule on the Israeli-occupied West Bank and Gaza Strip. However, the prospect of Palestinian participation in those negotiations is enormously complicated, since the Arabs insist that the PLO is the sole representative of the Palestinians, and the Israelis absolutely refuse to deal with the PLO. The United States is now searching diplomatically for a formula to draw the Palestinians into the peace process in a way which will be acceptable to the Israelis. But officials here fear that the gap between Israel and the Palestinians may be so wide that perhaps it cannot be bridged. Richard Valeriani, NBC News, at the State Department.
Firing squads in Iraq killed 21 senior officials, including the deputy prime minister. They were accused of conspiring against the government. They wanted to shoot 22, but one of the victims managed to escape.
How old am I? You can't tell from my hands. See, no unattractive age spots to give me away because of Esoterica medicated cream. Esoterica works below the skin surface to help safely fade brown spots that appear as we grow older. If you use it every day as directed, in 6 weeks your skin can be clearer and younger looking.